Good morning, Premier Kinew, Minister Wiebe, members of the town of Swan River Council, Swan Valley West, Minnesota's Bozeman, and Municipality of Mountain, and residents of the town of Swan River. Welcome. The town of Swan River acknowledges that we are located on Treaty 4 territory, the land of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and homeland of the Red River Métis. The spiritual and practical relationship to the lands creates a rich heritage for our learning and our life as a community. We shall honor and respect these treaties. Again, good morning, everybody. I'm Jacobson, and I will MC this segment this morning. I want to give a little bit of a history from myself of meeting premiers and how the importance of the connection with communities with premiers in government. Mine started early. In 1996, Premier Howard Pauley and Minister Leonard Harapiak brought the Western Canadian Premiers Conference to Swan River. And during that time in Swan River, they were brought to the regional school when I was 16, and it was there I met Saskatchewan Premier Grant Devine, Alberta Don Getty, BC Premier Bill Bennett, and of course Premier Pauley, for a scrum and a visit, which was impressive at the time for myself. Several years later, as being elected to town council, either as a councillor, deputy mayor, or mayor, I had the opportunity to meet several premiers and ministers along the way. This has been important to our team as council and a mission to build our relationship with all governments. Being committed to building these relationships and partnerships, we're able to bring our concerns and issues forward to help our valley and our province a better place. Today, we are honored to have our newest premier in Swan River, our first premier to walk the floors of our town office, the People's Building. It brings great pride to introduce to you the 25th Premier of the province of Manitoba, Premier Wab Kinew.
That's great. What a welcome. Thank you so much, Mayor Jacobson. Really appreciate that. That's great. And want to say to the whole team here, council, the staff, bylaw officer who greeted us at the airport, everybody. We really appreciate the welcome so far, as well as everyone who's come out to spend a few minutes with us this morning. It's really great to be here in Swan River, and of course to be here amongst all the good people who call the Swan Valley home. There's one main focus that I think we want to talk about this morning. We're gonna have a good meeting. We're meeting with some folks at LP later on today, so we'll be touching on a lot of issues. But the primary focus that we want to talk about at this event this morning is about public safety and crime. So we have been hearing so much about this for the past number of years from Swan, and I really have to say that the past few years in particular, hearing about businesses locking their doors, to hearing about the frustration with a revolving door, about issues with safety in the community, about just the average person wondering about what the future is going to be like in a community like this one, it's really hit home. And so we're here to tell you that we're taking action. And so we've got a 5-point plan on bail reform, and we're here to share the details of that with the people here in the Swan Valley region. So the 5 points of the plan, the 5 points of this plan are comprehensive in nature, and they have to do with building not only a direct response to the issues that you're seeing in the community, but also setting the stage for a longer term approach that is going to make a difference. And in short, we got these two twin paths we're walking at the same time: tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. And that's the approach that we're taking here. So the first point that I want to talk about, and I'll spend a bit of time on this, is we have provided direction to Crown attorneys that when they are going to court and somebody's applying for bail, the Crown attorney has to consider the impact on community safety of the person before the courts. And in particular, the Crown has to take into account what folks in the community, local leaders, business folks are saying about what's happening with public safety in the community. Often there's a perception that bail is focused on the person applying for bail. And it was really shocking for us to hear that for years there has never been direction to Crown attorneys in Manitoba about the way that they're supposed to participate in a bail hearing. And so our government, under the leadership of our Attorney General, Matt Wiebe, who's here with us today, is now providing this direction. And the direction is clear. Before somebody can go for bail, the Crown has to bring forward a clear picture of what the impact is going to be on the safety of a community like Swan River. This will make a difference in Swan. This will make a difference in many other rural centers across our great province. Second point of the plan is more resources for supervision. These resources will live at the provincial level and allow us to monitor those folks who are on bail. Third point is increased resources for law enforcement. We thank law enforcement and we recognize the important work that they do to keep us safe each and every day. The fourth point of the plan is to invest in data sharing across jurisdictions. We've heard from many folks, including the National Police Federation, who represents RCMP officers across the country, that too often issues around safety in the community are falling through the cracks because somebody moves from one region to another, and then when they go from the jurisdiction of one police force to another, sometimes the follow-up is not taking place. So we're bringing forward the resources to address that situation. And of course, we know that sort of collaboration amongst law enforcement has worked really well in the areas where it's been brought forward. And so we're bringing in the resources to ensure that can happen when it comes to bail and community safety and supervision as well. And then the final point of this 5-point plan is to bring forward your voices. It's to bring forward the voices of community and to design the approach that we're going to use going forward. We're going to have the tough on crime approach that sees us investing in law enforcement and supervision in the community. But we also know that if we want to prevent issues in the future, we need to get a handle on addictions, mental health. We need a path towards employment. We also need to invest for the next generation in recreation, education, and ensure that there's a path towards post-secondary instead of a pipeline towards prison for that average young person who's maybe got some negative influences in their life, but if we do the right thing with them, we could steer them towards a positive path that'll see them join the workforce. And so we held the first part of that outreach exercise in Winnipeg earlier this week. We held a public safety summit, and I'm happy to say that folks from Swan were in attendance, we're participating, and we really appreciate you making the drive. It was a really good meeting this past Tuesday. We had business, we had elected representatives from municipalities, from First Nations, we had community serving organizations, we had law enforcement, everybody in the room working together to develop a comprehensive plan that the Attorney General is going to share publicly later this week. But I also know that doing one meeting in Winnipeg is not good enough to meet the needs of the people of Manitoba. And so we're going to do subsequent versions of this Public Safety Summit in different regions around the province, including in northern Manitoba, including in Westman, and importantly, through a partnership with the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, AMM, we're going to be bringing one of these Public Safety Summit meetings right here to Swan River. And so we're very happy that AMM, and you know Mayor Jacobson is a very active participant in that. AMM has invited us through their regional district meetings this summer to come out and engage on the public safety topic with people in every region of the province. And so I'm happy to be here today. But I'm also happy to say that our government will be back. And so we'll be back with the AMM, and we'll be back to have a meeting on the topic of public safety to hear your perspectives. So we're bringing forward this 5-point plan. We've got the aspects of law enforcement, the Crown attorneys, the supervision, the data sharing. But the 5th point to me is the one that's going to be really focused on the long term and bending that curve towards the good. And that's where we're asking for your involvement and your help. Help us to design what the strategy needs to be around law enforcement and justice, recreation, education, and prevention here in the community. So with this approach, with us working together, governments, communities, people from all walks of life across this great province, we know that that's how we're going to be able to overcome some of the challenges that we're facing here. So once again, I appreciate all the business folks and community members who've been raising your concerns around this really important topic these past number of years. And it's really important for our government to be here to say that we're responding, we're listening, we hear you, and we're taking action to make Swan and communities across Manitoba safer. So we'll have a couple other details to share on some health and some airport stuff, but I think I'll just leave it at that for now so that we can keep the focus on the public safety conversation. So once again, thank you, Mayor Jacobson, and thanks to everybody who's given us such a good welcome here in Swan River so far.
Thank you, Premier Kinew, and appreciate your words. And we're all concerned about crime. And as you mentioned, it's an all-in effort through the whole province of Manitoba. I also want to just remind that the Premier will be taking some questions following the presentation this morning. Last week when I was at the AMM lobby days, I had an opportunity to sit casually with Minister Wiebe, and I kind of mentioned, I said, I kind of hope the Premier will allow you to come up and visit us in Swan River on his trip on Thursday, and here he is today. So I appreciate the Premier bringing Minister Wiebe to this important meeting with us and our Valley representatives. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you our Minister of Justice and Attorney General for the province of Manitoba, Minister Matt Wiebe.
Thank you, Mayor Jacobson, and indeed, thank you to the Premier for finding a seat for me on the plane to come up here today. It is important, and it's important because we heard from municipalities across the province, and including and specifically from Mayor Jacobson and from Swan River, that public safety is a top priority for the people here in the Swan Valley and in the Parkland and across the province. And the meeting I had with Mayor Jacobson was one of the first meetings that I took as Attorney General and Minister of Justice when I was appointed, to meet with him, to hear directly some of the concerns, and to start talking about ways we can work together in partnership, together with community, supporting you through the Department of Justice and through the province. So it's important that we're here today, and it's important that we're able to flesh out, as the Premier said, our plan on bail and our comprehensive strategy that we're bringing forward. It is exciting, and it is an opportunity for us to leverage some of the work that's already being done in jurisdictions like Swan River, and we do believe that there's some opportunity for us to build going forward, as the Premier said. We are investing more than $3 million for 12 new officer positions with a specific focus on apprehending serious repeat offenders. And those include those who have been charged with intimate partner violence offenses, who have breached their bail conditions. The Mayor has been clear. When folks are released on bail and they're breaching that bail, they're repeat offenders, we need specific supports to make sure that those folks aren't going down that path once again. We're also creating a new community monitoring and supervision program. This is over $500,000 that's going to be invested in hiring new bail workers who will provide an intensive bail supervision program. They'll offer expanded mental health and addiction supports. Give people that opportunity to find that right path that the Premier talked about, and to ensure that they're not back into our justice system again. A key part of our bail reform plan is also the collection and sharing of data. And this is a move that comes directly from the recommendations of the National Police Federation, who recommended that we need to talk not just with other jurisdictions across Canada, but also within Manitoba to support the good work that's being done by law enforcement in each jurisdiction, bring that data together and start to come up with comprehensive plans. The element, though, that maybe is most important, the Premier touched on, is the prioritization of of community impacts when considering bail. Now, our Crown attorneys have done a great job of trying to keep communities safe, but the missing element, or the key element that we want to stress with them, has been the impacts to communities, the impacts that the mayor and council and Reeves from throughout the area have identified and prioritized for us, talking about the importance of community safety as the first and most important element that should be considered when granting bail. This will be an important step, and we have full faith in our Crown attorneys and in our justice system to carry this out. In the 6 months since we took office, as I said, I've met with Reeves and mayors from across Manitoba. I've heard loud and clear the frustration that they have felt as they watch people get arrested and released over and over again without any kind of intervention in that cycle. And it's clear that we have to judge the impact that it's having on our communities. The former government let these bail policies lapse. We won't make that mistake again. We're going to continue to improve and enhance the work that we're doing with our Crown attorneys. And finally, as the Premier said, the Public Safety Summit was an incredible opportunity to hear directly from so many different folks who are working independently to enhance community safety, but ultimately need to be brought together. They need to feel that they have the support of the provincial government and the support of the justice system. We're going to work together with them. We're going to work together with the folks in this community. And as the Premier said, I'm excited to come back to continue that conversation with all of you in the months ahead. So we're here to send a clear message. Our government will work together with the leadership in Swan River and communities across Manitoba to take the kinds of concrete action that you've been asking for. Deliver those smart policies that you have good insight into, and make this community and all communities across our province safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wiebe, and we look forward to working with your department on the issues of crime, and as you mentioned today, and also with AMM and our upcoming Parkland District meeting. I understand that we'll have a session with that, so we do look forward to that as well. Now I'd like to bring forward our Deputy Mayor, David Moriaux, who will have some words on crime and some of the other issues that we have dealt with in the province, in the community and in the province, and how we're moving forward with the government.
Very good. Thank you, Your Worship. Welcome, Premier Kinew, Minister Wiebe, for coming to our community of Swan River and the greater Swan River Valley region to speak to on your government's actions on public safety today. As the Association of Manitoba Municipalities representative for the Parkland District and the AMM Provincial Justice Advisory Committee representative, and as a local leader, it is welcome to see movement and action on public safety. This is an urgent issue that needs to be addressed sooner than later to once again make our communities safe for everyone. We understand this is solely not a provincial issue, but one that spans all levels of government and will require all levels of government and many organizations working together to make change that will see tangible results. Public safety is high importance to citizens of our community, and unfortunately, many do not feel safe in our communities currently or even in their homes, and this must change. We have been hearing from numerous people in our valley and everywhere we go in the province that we need to get tough on crime and especially on repeat violent offenders. We acknowledge your 5-point plan, which includes bolstering Crown bail policies on the repeat and violent offenders, and an additional investment of the 12 law enforcement resources that will track down offenders who violate their bail conditions. Increased investment in the data in intelligence gathering and sharing of the data amongst other jurisdictions and other police agencies. The enhancement of a community monitoring program for intensive supervision, and expanded supports for the chronic repeat offenders that have mental health and substance abuse issues, and holding a public safety summit last Tuesday to solicit stakeholder opinions, thoughts, and ideas to be used in your public safety strategy to be released in September of later this year. While much more work needs to be done and additional changes to policies and legislations need to occur, this is all a step in the right direction. By working together, it is mine and many others' goal that we restore public confidence in the justice system while being considerate to the challenges and the needs of the vulnerable and to make our community safe once again for everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister and Premier, for coming today.
Wonderful. Good words.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Moriaux. And again, I want to thank the Premier and the Minister for coming out here today. It's an important time for us to build this relationship and have our discussions, and I look forward to our meetings today and also with the Reeves later on this afternoon as well. Now I'd like to bring the Premier forward. If anybody has any questions, he's willing to take, and we'll spend a little bit of time on that before we head back up into the office. So here's the Premier again.
Thanks, Lance. 2 on Zoom. Okay. Is there any journalists who want to lead us off?
Yes, are you throwing to Zoom, Premier? We do have Ian Fraze from CBC with his one question, one follow-up.
Yeah, we can start with Ian. Yeah, sure.
If we have to, I guess. Thanks, Premier, for the time.
We're enthusiastically starting with you, Ian.
To start off, Premier, you talked about the public safety summits, one in Northern Manitoba, one in Westman, and then what's happening in Swan River seems to be like more of a private one through AMM. Could you clarify the differences between the summits that are planned?
So I would say the primary difference is that the first 2 that we planned were sort of the province doing it ourselves, and the additional ones that we've now been working up a really good strategy on with the AMM, we'll be doing those in partnership with them. So AMM every summer goes out and meets with the leadership from the various districts across the province. And when we started talking with them, seeing as how AMM has been advocating so much on public safety on behalf of mayors, reeves, and councillors across the province, as well as their ratepayers, and we've been really focused on public safety, it seemed like a good fit that when AMM is traveling around to talk about this topic, that the province is there too. There's a large truck driving by, so I'm going to pause for a quick sec. It's a perfect time to remind everyone of the cut to the provincial fuel tax that we made on January 1 of this year. 14 cents a liter off on gasoline, 3.5 cents a liter off on diesel. It helps consumers, but it also helps business, like the business that is running truck there behind us. So I think when we're talking about coming back to Swan, we're still pinning down the details with the AMM, but we are going to open this one up. We're going to make sure as a province that we come forward with the resources so that members of the community can participate, so business, so that Indigenous voices are represented. Because this has been such a hot topic here in the Swan Valley region that we really think it's necessary that we spend a significant amount of time and a significant deep dive, if you will, in terms of hearing the voices, the challenges, some of the local solutions as well. I think a lot of those local solutions are going to be probably the key to us getting it right. We're going to take action at the provincial level when we're talking about bail policy and law enforcement and things like that, but we know that there has to be local initiatives as well in order for us to make the progress that we all want to see to make people safer.
Thank you. And now I've got a question for Mayor Jacobson, if possible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I'll just ask broadly, what's the status on crime in the community? You know, you've installed a bunch of cameras, you have a patrol car, I think it was planned for a security hub. Are these measures working? Can you sort of update us on where things are at?
Well, the cameras is an initiative that was started last fall, I believe it was, and it's continuing on. It is, I think, helping a little bit, but we're expanding the installation of the camera system. With the community safety vehicle that you mentioned, I had an actual meeting here last week with some of the representatives that were doing some of the security, I guess if you could say surveillance, and they're saying that it does work. They're having a impact on just the presence of being around in the community. We still have other issues that are ongoing, but I hope that with the steps with the other 3 municipalities, 4 including the town of Swan River, on some other initiatives that we're working with the RCMP that will help to combat some of the other larger crime, organized, if you want to say, with also with drug enforcement as well.
How have you expanded the camera system?
Sorry?
You said you've expanded the camera system. I think there were plans for 84. Are you there yet? Is there more to come?
A good portion of the cameras have already been installed, but we're looking at installing more of them as well in the community, in places where we need them to be installed. And getting more businesses involved, I think that's the other part of it. Having them install cameras wherever they can in a strategic manner, if I can say.
Okay, one more reporter on Zoom, Marissa Turton from Global. One question, one follow-up.
Hi, Mr. Premier. Part of your day is spending time talking and touring the Louisiana Pacific plant near Swan River. There are 2 lawsuits naming LP and the Manitoba government. So just curious, how important is the mill to the community, and what is your message about the jobs?
Jobs are my top priority, and this plant is really important. I can't comment on the specific matters before the courts, so everything that I say should be reported as a general statement about jobs and industry, and so I'll kind of take it from there with that legal disclaimer out of the way. When you think about the challenges that our provinces face, think about them big picture, and think about them in every region, including here in the Swan Valley. Healthcare, the economy, public safety, addictions, reconciliation. We could keep adding to this list. Some part of the solution for each and every one of those challenges we face has to be jobs. You want to increase people's healthiness over the course of their lives? A higher income. What's the fairest way to get a higher income? More jobs in the community. You want to advance reconciliation? Economic reconciliation is a clear benchmark that we can measure. And how do we measure the success so that it's not just happening at a high level, but it's the local community member and the local band member who's enjoying the benefits of economic reconciliation? It's jobs. When we're talking about addictions, yes, we need to use harm reduction and we need to have a compassionate approach, but at the end of the day, and I can speak from personal experience, if you want somebody to turn their lives around, the dignity, discipline, and self-respect that comes with working full-time is part of the solution. And we can go on down the list. And so jobs are super important, not just for the food that people are able to put on the table, but also for what it means for our society and what it means for our communities. And so I'm always going to be standing up for jobs everywhere that I go. And our government's focus is, of course, to grow the economy, but to grow the economy in a way that helps the average working person, that helps the average middle-class person, the person who comes home from work at the end of a shift with dirt under their fingernails. And so I made a joke about the provincial gas tax being cut on January 1st of this year, but actually, this is a really serious thing that we did to help the average working person. What I've been hearing so much from the average working people across this great province is it seems like everyone's always taking more and more, asking more and more, and they're giving it to everyone except for me. I've heard that sentiment expressed many times. And so what did we do? We found a way to put money back in your pocket, in a way that helps you, whether you're the person driving to work at the hospital, driving to work at the school, driving to work at the LP plant, or somebody who just put your name on the side of a truck and decided to risk your own money to put people to work in your community. The gas tax cut is a serious step towards economic fairness. And so I'm saying these things as part of our overall philosophy that we need to take in terms of ensuring that we put the working person first and we put the average Manitoban first. When we talk about LP in particular, we know that the steel worker who's going to work each day in these plants is a hard-working Manitoban who's taken out a mortgage, who's paying off a vehicle, who has family, kids, maybe grandkids to feed. At the same time, First Nations folks have some legitimate grievances over the way things have gone in the past. And somehow, one of the mistakes in our society is who's always left holding the bag when things go wrong. It's the working person. It's the local community member at the grassroots level. That's not why I ran in politics. I ran in politics to help people, to help the average person. So through whatever challenges that we're going to face, we're going to work through them together. And my measure of success isn't going to be something that happens up here at the highest level. My measure of success is going to be what happens with the price at the pump. What happens in the life of the average person in a community like Swan. What happens for the average band member in a local First Nation. And so for us, you asked the question about jobs. Jobs are fundamental. And so we're going to be standing up for the average person who's working in a plant, person who's working in the bush, person who's working at the health center. All of these jobs are important, but they're important because they're important to you. And so that's our approach, and that's what we're going to prioritize.
Thanks, Mr. Premier. What do you expect to learn from the tour while balancing the environmental interests and First Nations who are also wanting to be a part of the solution?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part. I heard up to balancing with environmental and First Nations.
Oh, all good. So yeah, I'm just asking, I'm curious, what are you expecting to learn from the tour while balancing the environmental interests and First Nations who are also wanting to be a part of the solution?
Well, as somebody who works very hard at my day job and then finds relief by puttering around my yard, I hope to get a good understanding of these siding products that the plant creates and how I might use them for future home improvement projects, whether at my house or in the country. But I guess on a more serious level, I want to hear from the folks who work at the plant, and I want to see, how things are going for them. Of course, there's industry-specific issues, but every time that I'm in a location like that, I also want to see how it's going in terms of putting food on the table. How's it going with healthcare? How's it going with your kids or grandkids at school? And of course, public safety is a top priority. So for me, it's important to get out around the province, and when I get a chance to visit a facility like LP's, I want to hear from the average everyday Manitoban about how things are going, and most importantly, how we as your elected servants can serve you better and make things better when it comes to affordability, healthcare, and all these really important priorities.
Thank you, Premier. That concludes the reporters on Zoom. We'll turn it back to the event in Swan River.
All right. Turning it back over to the event in Swan River. So if there's no reporters, we could just open it up for... Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, where's Dane? Okay, yeah, the guy right beside you can help follow up. Yeah, nice to see you. Yes.
Having a biology background.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I was distracted by the traffic noise.
What cutplots do, they take the overspill off, and sunlight hits the ground, make 27 different species of plants, where there's one right now, which makes much better moose habitat. So there's issues with the moose, obviously, but I can't for a moment think that it's making cutplots, which makes better habitat.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the insight. What I would say is that the moose population is important to all of us as Manitobans. And First Nations people, among the rights that Indigenous people have, the right of First Nations people to hunt is probably one of the most clearly defined in terms of the law. across the country. So ensuring that there is the ability to hunt moose is an important legal consideration. One of the challenges that we face, however, is political. And I'm not sure how widely this is known, but just the approach that was taken over the last few years in terms of counting the moose population was just not functional. It just didn't accomplish the objectives. So most people who spend time in the bush would probably argue that there is room to increase the moose hunt, right? And yet the way that the count was conducted, previous government wasn't able to do anything. They were just treading water because effectively, you know, they weren't able to come with any data or any quantitative basis to be able to move forward in that direction. So we're trying to take a new approach, a better approach. We want to ensure that moose is going to be there for generations to come, but also that we're working with everybody from all walks of life to ensure a shared approach to managing our relationship with the land and the water and the animals. Okay. Appreciate the perspective. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.